What do you eat?
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Paradise Pump. And we got a couple good things to talk about today. Specifically, we're going to hit the topic of kid training, juvenile, teenage. When should you start? What type of training should you be doing? Lifting heavy, body weight, all that kind of stuff. So,
A very good subject to talk about because we actually do have a lot of members that bring in their kids, so they see the influence very on early onset in their childhood, and um, kids are sponges. They absorb very quickly, whether it be a good or a bad habit. So I think even for the um, little ones to see that their parents are
mm,
putting in some sort of means of health and exercise into a daily routine. Um,
yeah.
I think that's very good, but sometimes I feel sad for the kids, man. They're over here that's like so
Sitting
bored out of their
3
mind.
hours on the
Yeah.
iPod or something,
iPad.
But at the
Yeah.
same
or
time, you see them like with
iPad.
their parents, they imitate their movements, their
hmm
from their weightlifting and their posing, and next thing you know, they're the next ones that are gonna be stepping on stage as well too.
Hey, you never know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's possible. And then sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes the kid's like,
Yeah.
I never want to do that ever because they
Yeah.
were around it their whole life,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
So they go the opposite way. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it all depends.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've seen it. We've all seen it. Some of those parents that are really into it as the kids get into like the teenage years, they kind of get pushed into it a little more. They're surrounded by it, and then
Mm-hmm.
they have like the most expert knowledge and motivation from their parent, and then get a little burnt out on it.
mhm.
You
Oh
know,
yeah, for sure.
so
Yeah, and I see it like you were saying, Mark, it works both ways where if the kids want to do it on their own behalf, like sure, that cool. Not have to force them to be like, no, you're at the age of 18, you're gonna do teenage bodybuilding at whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if
what's
if
the
this
cutoff? 14? Is it
I
13 or
have no idea.
14?
For what?
Maybe, oh
14.
yeah, for
Oh,
teens, I think it is 14 or
is it
something like
I
that.
14?
think I think it's like 14, not like
Yeah. Well,
actual 13,
Hmm.
but
for the parents to try and push the kids too much where it's,
Well, like, what your guys' thoughts? What's your guys' thoughts on what age is
age
appropriate
appropriate.
for lifting, let's just say lifting heavy, like compound exercises,
I started
pretty
at
heavy.
14.
yeah, I'll say
I
like
was at
14.
14.
13, 14.
Now, there's always that thing of, oh, you're going to stunt your
Stunt,
height
yeah.
growth and
Okay, so that
so
means I can't go out and do yard work, right? That means I can't go dig a
no,
ditch. That means I
no,
can't
because
carry
you're putting
hay.
the load on your spine with the squats.
And
No,
I can't,
nope,
well, just don't do
nope.
squats.
You see, that's what I'm saying. See, that's that we're talking about, and deadlifts too, right?
It's,
Right?
If you're doing
Yeah,
heavy
I was
deadlifts, heavy
pushing
squats,
wheelbarrows full of
those type of
giant
things. That's
rocks and
not.
shit.
That's a
dude,
different.
them
Like
farm
work,
boys would be 4 foot tall if that were true.
work. No, work is different compared to like specifically doing one exercise for thousands of reps over the years, right? Heavy exercise and a certain specific load in your body, right? So that's a little different. If you did deadlifts, right, and you did heavy deadlifts as a child, let's just say you were like 12 years old lifting, doing deadlifts. Do you think that could possibly cause issues for that kid if he was doing heavy deadlifts early on and lifted all the way through until he was like 19, 20
He's
years
lifting
old?
like shit, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But are we saying that that young age is still 14, or are we saying younger?
what
Like
is the age?
8.
Well, there you go. What's the age? I mean, is
Right.
it 12? Is it
Well, I mean,
11,
like
14?
playing high school football, um,
Right,
14 when I get into high school,
right,
right? So thing is like weights class was mandatory if you want to be on the football team,
right.
right? So if the
See,
DOE says 14,
because
then
and this
what
is
do
why
experts have
when
to
I
say?
said it, I said compound exercises. See, I didn't say muscle isolation, right? There's a
Right.
difference. Yeah, you can do curls, but it's not gonna affect your fucking height. Like, of course, you can do fucking
Maybe you
triceps.
have T-Rex arms
No,
then.
but what I'm saying is compounds, right? So when we're talking about heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, those two specifically, right?
I think
They made us
as
do those though in high school.
Well,
Like it
that was
was,
the thing.
yeah,
I know
that
that
and
was the
like
thing.
power cleans,
yeah, I mean,
bench
yeah, they made
Well,
pressing.
it.
cleans, whatever. But how heavy do you go? I don't know.
But as far as what would be most, I don't know, for lack of better words, terms, deleterious to height, if that was a thing, right? Stunting your growth. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe I would be quick to assume that squats would be a little bit more harder because the compression of your spine in comparison to like a deadlift. Deadlift is like almost your everyday natural,
I feel like
movement. You're
yeah,
picking up stuff off of the ground, and if you do it properly, I think
I feel like deadlifts are like
It
definitely
should
one of
be.
the more like big compound movements that are more functional.
That's
How
what
you
I'm
were saying?
saying.
Is, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. I mean, it's your day-to-day movement, your everyday movement in comparison to like having the heavy bar, doing the actual heavy bar squat,
Yeah.
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And then like you talk about another compound as far as chest pressing, I don't think that they're like stunt any of the bone growths from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, our weightlifting class in high school actually he never had us do flat bench. He tested us on incline because he felt like incline was actually more functional as far as football goes because you're always like
Yeah,
going to hit
because
or
the
block
angle you're
somebody
at.
this
Yeah,
way. Yeah,
it makes a lot of
like
sense.
you never go like this way and you never
I
have like a
try do
back
that do
support
that
and stuff
again. Like how? Which way?
like that. Huh?
Well, it's funny that
Sorry?
the NFL in the NFL Combine they don't have him doing flat, they have him do five,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So
But I think that's just like tradition
it's just been
over
going on
function.
forever.
Yeah.
No.
So
Actually, if you have the power squat machine, that's a good one to use to practice that. They come down and they explode up and come
Shoot
up
up
like
this
that.
way. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well, they have the hammer strength jammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Those
I don't
work.
have one here, but they do have that jammer, right? Something like this.
Is it the one that has it's like it looks like incline press kind of, but no seat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I like that one. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that one's different. That's for sports for sure.
Uh let's see. I have some like mixed review, I guess, on the little topic, only because like I was actually taller. I was like 5'9". I was really tall as a kid. I've been the same height basically since I was 10. I was a big
Oh
kid.
my God,
Yeah.
Jody.
No,
You're-
this is like, where
and you're like 5'8" now. So you were
yeah,
5'9" at
I'm not
10.
even
Now you're
5'8"
5'9".
anymore. But I started lifting super
How is
heavy,
this possible?
at like 18, 19 is when I really started taking bodybuilding more seriously. And
Okay.
now I have like degenerative discs and stuff. But so starting
Okay,
later.
right. So this
So not necessarily as
It's so
a
crazy,
kid,
Jody.
right?
no, it's a thing. Just like
No,
how
no, it's just
older people they lose a lot of the whatever is
so
going on in their
so you reach
spines.
your potential at
A
10.
10.
Well, damn, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Everyone,
that explains a lot.
yeah, my whole family thought I was gonna be like this giant. I was like 5'9" at 10 years old, wore a size 11 shoe, and now it's like
So,
I'm
well,
the
then,
same
so do
size.
you think that you lifting all that
I
definitely affected your height?
Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't say it was necessarily detrimental in my youth, like,
Mm.
well, younger than 18. Like, it wasn't until I turned 18 where I really, well, 17, 18, really started like taking it more seriously, learning a lot more about it, and trying to go super heavy.
Mm.
And then getting competitive at that age too for actual like hitting the stage for a bodybuilding show. That's where I started trying to shoot for every week I'm doing 400-pound squats, 500-pound squats, 600-pound squats, and did that up until I was about 28. But now it's like now I'm suffering the consequences of it, whereas like like my height
Well,
with
how
the
old now?
about 5'7.5"
So you've lost like two
Two
and
and
a
a
half
half
inches
inches
from when you were 10 years old.
inch and a half, inch and a half.
or inch and a half.
But it's a lot, yeah.
Wait, you
And
said
it's
you're 5'10", right?
5'9".
Oh, 5'9".
Yeah.
Okay, so-
Did I say 5'10"? I meant to say
Right, you
5'9".
said 5'10".
Oh,
Yeah.
you're 5'10".
So
But
would
yeah.
it be safe to assume as far as compound lifting, primarily squats, would it be a little bit more safer for like teenagers to wait till their growth spurt is done before they start lifting the heavy stuff under their.
I feel like that's hard
What
to
do you
say though,
think?
because right, like developmentally, like if you're going by the book, it's like some guys don't stop growing until they're like 23 to
23.
Right.
25, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas girls usually tend to like physically mature a lot sooner than boys do. So
Well, I mean, if you stretch too, right? I think that's important to like
Mobility,
to do mobility, to stretch, lift and stretch, and
keeping
keep
your
your body
tendons
flexible.
and
Yeah, I
ligaments
think
really
that's a big
limber.
part of
what
it.
I think is probably maybe like more important is like you kind of touched on earlier was like the form and the technique and like
Yeah, and
doing it
stretching
properly.
and forming.
Because like high school weightlifting class, like we got away with doing
They
pretty
don't
shitty
they don't show
movements.
you good
Yeah,
stuff.
like
No.
Doing squats first.
yeah, and we're doing
Yeah.
squats like, and our coach is just like ash the grass, and you watch him and his hip, his butt tucks underneath himself as he does the 400-pound squat as the demo for the rest of us.
I think that was the problem.
And we were just all like, okay, move heavy weight.
You
That's
didn't
what
get
you do.
trained properly. And I think that's a big problem, right? As like when you're young, if you're
if your coach or whoever's showing you, if they're not showing you the proper way, I mean, you could have some problems for
I
sure.
mean, something even as like simple and functional, right, as like a push-up,
Hmm.
right? Like you guys are all in military. Like, how many shitty push-ups have you seen in your life?
Elbows
All of
out,
them.
all of them.
Like, that's the thing is like I get military clients who are like, push-ups? We're gonna do push-ups? I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do push-ups. They're like, dude, I do like 60 of these in a minute. Like, this is so easy. Why? Why? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna show you how to do it. And we do it. And they're like,
Yeah.
they die at like 8 to 10.
Well,
You
yeah.
know, they're not doing
They're
60
because
anymore.
they're doing those
They're doing like I always tell them, I'm like,
body
like
waves,
chest to
Bobbing
the
for
floor, not your
apples.
face.
body waves. Yeah, they're going like that.
They like dip their hips or they just shove their face into the floor, you know, and it's like some
Well,
dudes,
because when there's like 50 people doing them, nobody's really paying attention
yeah,
to them. They're just letting them get away with it. So
Yeah.
right? But like, let's just imagine, right? Like whatever it was like in boot camp, right, where they start making you do all these push-ups, and then when you have to do your PT every 6 months or every year, right?
yeah,
It's like, what if they were right there making sure you were doing them 100% proper? You know those numbers would come way the fuck down.
oh yeah,
You know, to
oh
to
yeah,
hit,
for
to hit
sure,
the
for sure.
maxes,
Yeah,
or they'd be the same, and everyone just does a lot better.
right.
And you don't suffer the consequences and get the injuries and all the little aches and pains that come along with doing things poorly.
Yeah.
Jed, you have a thought?
I was just remind when I was in and we had to do the PT test in the Navy, you have somebody that counts for you, right? You have a
Yeah,
buddy.
you have a partner. Yeah.
And we were in the berthing. I probably shouldn't tell a story, but the DIs, the RDCs came in and they were like, "You guys got your counter ready?" I said, "Yeah." And they go, "No one fails push-ups or sit-ups." And I said, "But what if we get no one fails
Right,
push-ups or sit-ups?" Pretty
right.
much saying whatever number they need to get, you
Yeah,
tell the counter that number.
right.
Oh,
And he said the only thing that anybody we can't stop you from failing is the mile and a half run. Of push-ups and sit-ups.
Nobody
If your
fails
buddy's
that.
counting and you know you got to get 50, you better tell that fucking dude 50 when he's done regardless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we were like, Roger that. And that was the end of it.
damn.
No one failed push-ups
Hmm.
or sit-ups that day.
Hmm.
But
So
That's funny. Nobody
yeah.
fails.
that's all. He just kept
That's
saying it until all the kids were like,
Like,
oh.
duh, a bunch of
Right.
18, 19-year-old
Being
dummies.
24 and with a bunch of 18-year-olds in
Yeah.
boot camp's fucking annoying.
That's gotta be
Yeah.
different.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because I was.
Because you finished college first, right?
no, I didn't finish college. That's why I went in the fucking Navy.
I mean, went
'Cause
to
I
college
drank
first.
myself out of college.
Because I did Air Force when I was 21, did 4 years, and then was out for 2 years, and then went in the Coast Guard. So I was prior service, right? So I was like 27. So I was like kind of older. I mean, there was a few of us that was prior service guys, so they kind of made us like do everything, run everything, because we kind of knew
It
already.
was just
But
fucking
we were like
annoying.
older. There was a bunch of 19, 18, 19-year-old guys. It was so funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, and all that stuff, man, I would just fly through that shit. Like, because I had been lifting all those years, right? So
Yeah.
that was nothing to me. Push-ups and all that. Only thing that stuck was the run. I just remember
Hate running.
we had to do the run, and it was a mile and a half, I think it was. Was it a mile? Yeah. And I was like, okay, my goal is to not lose to any of the girls. Because there was a couple girls. No, like that was my goal. Because I was like, I'm gonna kill everybody in the push-ups, sit-ups, all this stuff. But the run, I'm weak. So I said, as long as I don't lose to the girl. So I remember running into those one girl, she was a runner.
Yeah.
And I remember I paced in front of her about 20 yards in front of the whole time. I just kept in front. And the instructors were yelling at me, like, hurry it up, Leo. And I'm just like, yeah, no, this is good. This is my
Yeah.
pace, And I was just, as long as I beat her, because I knew if I lost to her, that would be it,
Yeah.
So I was like, I beat all the girls. I'm good, So it was like,
Shit.
because I was not a runner. I mean, dude, I went to boot camp. I was like 230
Yeah.
muscle.
Jesus.
Yeah. So everybody was skinny guys, over there. And I was like, they were like, what are you
What,
doing?
what was that movie? It was like for like Navy SEAL training or something. And there was like the one like buff dude that failed out because he just sunk. He couldn't float
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, when we had swimming, right? Because Coast Guard, they do the whole swimming thing. The instructor literally, when we were getting ready to jump in, he goes, Leo. And I go, yes, sir. And he goes, can you swim? And I go, yes, sir. He didn't, I don't know if they knew I was from Hawaii. And I told him that I'm from Hawaii, and he goes, okay. Because, I'm standing there with my shorts on, and here I am like jacked, right? And they're just like, this guy looks like he's going to sink, which, again, I could swim. I grew up here, but yeah, obviously having all that muscle, wasn't helping me
Makes it
any.
way
It
harder.
wasn't helping me any,
Yeah.
but I could still swim fine, you know. And it was funny because there was a bunch of people from I don't know where they were from, but they were like these skinny dudes and they couldn't swim.
Huh.
And I don't know where they were from, Alabama, I don't know, somewhere out there,
If
and
you're
they
from
just
Alabama, you
never
can't
jumped
swim.
in the water. I don't know. It was like, where are you from? I don't know, Iowa. I don't know.
What about you?
What is that?
Like, just as far as your experience goes, when
In the
you're
military?
yeah.
Oh, it was too easy. I was in the chair force.
Yeah.
Air National Guard, but that was my full-time thing for a good part of my years, 15. I think I did like 17 years
Did you
full-time
really?
recently. I did
Wow.
as a
Wow.
full-time guardsman.
I did not.
But I was always active, always in shape. So PT, no big deal. But still the running part was probably the hardest because I just hate running.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I mean,
I feel like most of us that are
mhm,
bodybuilders just don't run or
Yeah.
don't like running.
yeah. So
It's not
running
conducive.
Well,
was not.
I was a good sprinter. I ran like the 100 and the 4x1, 200 and the 4x2, and then the 300 hurdles. Um, but like anything longer than that, I'd be winded. I'd be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Like back would be hurting. I got like a side ache and just gasping
Oh
for
yeah.
for
Oh
dear
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Like it's the worst.
I
So,
used
but
to.
then as far as basic training, they had us run out, and then they will tell you when to turn around after a specific time. So, if you're a runner, you could run and just keep running 2, 3, whatever fucking miles, and then the TIs will tell you, "Okay, turn around." Yeah, I remember that. I used to think like these guys are fucking with us, man. I'm just gonna cruise it. But I did that to my detriment because when it was time to test, I was like, "Oh fuck, I never should have cruised it, man. I should have actually tried to push
Try to push
myself."
Yeah.
harder. Yeah.
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 So,
I just knew what was the time and I was like, okay, I gotta get that and then just like I said, beat the fastest girl. That's it. I'm good.
no. See, like as far as our basic training as well to our instructors, um, I was already very active as a child watching Black Belt Theater and
Right.
W
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and Barbarian from what's that, Arnold
Yes.
Schwarzenegger. Remember when he
Uh-huh.
was a little kid and he had to all the
Yeah.
kids had to
Conan.
yeah,
Yeah.
Conan
Conan.
the
Yeah.
Barbarian. Yeah, growing up with that kind of stuff. So to push our physical limitations was fun. Jungle gyms and like
Hmm.
doing a lot of that, hanging on the monkey bars. So in basic training, push-ups, and we had to do pull-ups as well too, and pull-ups, push-ups, and sit-ups, no problem. And I remember I had a bad attitude too. I don't know if you guys did this. Was your guys push-ups and sit-ups under time?
Yeah,
Yeah. There
two
was a time
minutes.
limit.
So, and then
Yeah.
for your age, you had to just hit like whatever your
Yeah,
magical number
yeah,
was.
that's
I
it.
would try to pop out as much as I can and then be like, I'm done, and just like sit back. And then one big black drill instructor came up to me, he shouted my name, and he's like, "Get the fuck down and punch!" And then I
Keep
was like,
pushing
"What the
because you
fuck?"
could do more,
And he
right?
was like this with me, like pacing with me, and he's
Oh,
like, "Punch,"
okay.
and he was like yelling at me. I'm like, I guess we're gonna do this now. So much for cruising, waiting for the
Yeah, no,
rest of
you
the
can't. You're
fucking
not supposed to.
people.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was trying to beat the record because it was a minute and a half, the most
Yeah,
pushes in a minute and a
minute
half.
and a half.
Yeah, and I didn't beat it. I came in second place though. Actually, the record. It was crazy. I think because they were really strict. You
Yeah,
had to
they
go
were
all the
strict.
way down.
Yeah,
They had the fist thing,
yeah,
and then you had to touch the fist and then like lock out. They actually were really strict
they were
about it.
strict with
And
us. Yeah,
I think I did. Was it a minute? A minute? I think I did 86 or something like that. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like full strict for a minute and a half. And I think the record was like 90 something. I was like probably 5, 6 off. I don't know. I was done. I remember like the last five, I was just like getting one, like, oh, burning, trying to get to, and you can't drop, right? You can't drop. You have to, if you rest, you have to rest on top over here.
Yeah. You can't stick your ass in
So
the
yeah,
air.
you can't stick your ass. So I was like, it was pretty good. I remember I was like, I did pretty good for that, considering.
yeah. I
My
had I
Yeah.
had the typical Hawaii mentality. Like, oh fuck, I'm done my shit. I'm
You're
just going
right.
cruising. Get the
I
fuck
hit my
down, you
number.
know.
I
Oh
hit my
shit.
number. That's it.
I was trying to break records, man.
Yeah.
Only in that though. That's
My only experience with anything even close to that was at like a breast cancer fundraiser, and they had us do a whole bunch. Like it was push-up contest, 90 seconds, and I just remember getting on the stage, looking to my left, looking to my right, and I just saw like all smaller guys, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh shit, they're gonna last way longer than me." And I just had it in my mind, like I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go until I hear them just like blow the whistle, and 90 seconds is up. And I was able to hit 93 in that 90 seconds, and like I just remember like getting close to the end and then looking over and I see a bunch of other guys drop off and look over to my right and there's just one guy left and we both like make eye contact and I just go and I just start going way faster and just slam my chest into the floor and fucking just like all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. And finally I just hear, oh, I'm like, he fucking stopped. And I look over and he's on the ground gassed. And I'm like, yeah, one. And I get up. It was like a competition. It was win a like a motorcycle helmet, but it showed up, they hand it to me and it's a size small. And I'm like,
Ah,
and so I give it to the
oh
other guy. I
wow.
was like,
Oh, you
you
give
have
it
a
to him
small head,
here.
you can have it.
That's
So
funny. Breast cancer.
So it's like so going back to the whole childhood
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you know,
Push-ups
yeah,
are great for kids.
I
Push-ups are great for
honestly
kids.
think push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups as far as
Yeah.
kids, exercising or even some
Body
of the
weight squats,
body weight squats, some of the
lunges.
strength
Yeah.
training. Yeah, that's very excellent. I think more kids should do it, especially like the upper body stuff, the monkey bars and,
Yeah.
Oh,
that kind
that
of
kind of
stuff.
stuff is really good
Yeah,
for sure.
certainly.
I think
Body weight
if we're
wise.
speaking definitely like younger than 14, I think really the biggest key thing would be form.
Yeah.
Making sure they start to learn how to go through these movements the proper way, so that way when they do start, actually lifting the weights, like they have it down.
It's all
Now
form though,
all
right?
all
It's
it
all
is,
form.
it's just heavier.
Form is
So for
always
the
a
for
key.
the young teens that are intrigued with exercising, bodybuilding, and so on, like at say ages 14, maybe even younger, um, when would be a good time for them to start supplementing?
They can do natural stuff when they're younger. There used to be some good natural like hormone optimizers and stuff that were out, and they could use that. And just other than that, the main problem that I've seen with kids that I've trained or kids that when I worked in a supplement store was them getting enough food in. That's the biggest thing. Once I found like some kind of like meal replacement that they could drink in between, because they're at school and stuff, they might eat once or twice. So if they can take shakes at school and go in between and
Mm.
supplement with like some natural test, optimizers and stuff, then they'll be fine. They don't need to do anything harder than that until they get, older.
What about
Yeah.
creatine, since
Yeah,
it's been around for
Oh, I think
I
high
think
school.
creatine's
600
awesome.
years?
Yeah.
Yeah, high
yeah, it's
school
fine.
kids for
This can
sure.
be naturally found in red meat stuff anyways. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're actually working out, and training hard, it's like why not be able to supplement with a little bit more than what you're gonna get out of your food.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you talk about like anabolics and stuff for
Mhm.
like teenagers in high school and stuff, my whole take on it is like, I honestly, I don't like it personally. I don't think it's a good idea. But then here's the thing, right? So kid is playing football or something. He's trying to go for the scholarship. He's going up against these other kids. They're probably taking something to get that edge. He wants to be, at the top of his game, and it's going to give him some edge, right? Depending on what position he's playing and all that. So, it's like, it's hard. That's a hard one to say because I don't like the idea of teenagers taking it, but I also think, well, this is like something that could change your life, probably, possibly could get you into a program and you could make a lot of money, right? So I don't know. I mean, health wise though, yeah, it's definitely going to cause a lot of issues down the road for
I
sure.
mean, being that if they were under the ages of 18, we're talking high school, and the
Yeah.
parents wanted to allow their child
Right.
to excel and thrive. I mean, I would hope it would be upon the responsibility of the parents if they are going to introduce them, PEDs to their child and do the go the route, do the blood test, get, you know, lab work done, talk to doctors about it. There are doctors that are more athletic driven versus regular, what do you call it, like PAs or physicians, PCPs and such. So
Internal medicine.
yeah, yeah, there are those type of doctors out there. So I do
Um,
think it is a responsibility of the adult to.
Yeah.
my kid can't make it to the college level and exceed without taking shit. Find another fucking sport. That's just how
Door
it
greeter,
is. Huh?
door greeter,
Yeah,
Door greeter at
Walmart
Walmart.
greeter.
Walmart, there he goes. There's Jen again.
accountant,
Go be a band geek.
I
Go be in a band, something.
an
Yeah.
accountant, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
do something else. You know what? I would say something that's really important on that, and it's not like a physical thing necessarily, but like educating yourself, like research about it. Um, because I would say one of the things was like I started getting into bodybuilding like interested in it and started working out and going to like this like hardcore gym, which is called Flex Gym. And like I'm like 14, 15 years old, and there's like a little supplement shop attached to it on the side. And they don't really tell you like they say pro hormones. So and then you hear pro hormone, you
Mm,
think, oh, it's just something that like helps your body like produce more. Right? No, these
mhm.
are designer steroids over the counter, and I'm taking Superdrol at like 14, 15 years old.
Oh, jeez.
Sustanon
Yeah.
250, which was like this blend of like 4 different things from IDS Labs.
LGD.
Yeah. And like I was just like I was taking all these things and not understanding like why I feel super lethargic or why all of a sudden I've
You
gained
got
13 pounds in a
titties.
couple weeks. No, I didn't get that. I got lucky with that. Um,
Why
but
at
like
14, 15 you're starting to lose hair,
Yeah,
I had
right.
some nice hair. Okay, I did. I did.
bad acne.
But just like running into that kind of stuff where like the guys at the store didn't tell me what exactly I was taking. I didn't really think to look up any of it either because I'm thinking pro hormone is like just something that helps my body produce more. I don't think it's a problem. But in reality, it's like I'm taking like Superdrol, Halodrol. I'm taking
Yeah.
all these designer steroids.
Which
There's
I
like,
mean have a lot of side
and there's a
effects.
lot of
Yeah.
side effects. Like,
Liver,
Yeah.
kidney
Even though you
problems,
could buy
hormone
them in the store.
problems.
and
Yeah.
I remember taking the IDS Labs that the Sustanol 250, I think it
Yeah, I
is,
remember
and
those
it
ideas.
came in
Yeah.
the little blister packs, and
And
like
they made it look like it was
yeah,
real. Yeah.
and it wasn't illegal. There was no problems with it.
Right.
Like, other stores sold it too, not just like hardcore, like hole in the wall sub
Yeah, yeah.
shops. Like you could go to Vitamin Shop and buy it. Like you could go to GNC and buy it. Like it wasn't a problem. So I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And, long story short, it's like, I'm at like by the time I'm 18 years old, realistically, I've already been taking steroids for like 3 or 4 years and not really
Mm,
knowing that I was. And then when I
right.
finally did start to take like the real deal, well, for one, significantly cheaper. Two, I did my research, so I knew exactly what the hell I was taking. And but I think that's one of the most important things. It's like also too, like my mom just thinks like I take vitamins and I like to work out and all that stuff. She has no idea what the hell I'm taking. My grandma doesn't either. So it's like to them it looks like I'm doing something super
And
healthy.
to be honest with you, we'll go back to
Mm,
that again. And I will reiterate, whether it not be the parent or the adult parent or the minor or whatever person, it is everyone's own responsibility to do your own research. Like majority of people carry smartphones now. I mean, please make use of them. Do your own research. I say it all the time. Blood work and do your own research on the stuff that you are going to take.
You guys
yeah.
remember Androstene Dion when it came
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So suppose this is what Mark McGuire took, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't remember how I was young, but I was taking that and the Xenadrine with the ephedrine in it.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And
Fun.
so there was this local bodybuilder at the gym that was getting ready to compete. He saw me taking it. He's like, they don't tell you to take as much as you're supposed to be taking on that because he went in this whole conspiracy about the regulations and stuff when it comes. He's like, you need to be taking like twice that amount.
Oh my God.
Like fucking 15, 16,
You're like,
17 years
okay.
old.
Yeah.
So I listened to him.
Yeah.
And that on top of the Xenadrine RFA1 with the ECA stack. Man, I remember I came home. I lost my shit. Oh, I cannot remember what the fuck it was over.
Fuck.
A screen door might have got compromised. I can't remember. My brother claims
Yeah.
something went through the screen door.
Oh shit.
My dad was like, no more.
Yeah.
Like he took the shit. He was like, you're not taking that anymore. He's like, I don't know what the fuck it's doing to you, but I turned into an asshole when I came home, like bad.
Damn.
And because you just go anywhere and get it. And that was back when you had like the hydroxycut, Xenadrine, Stacker threes, the yellow
Mhm.
jackets, mini
And you got
thins.
the
The good
WWE guys and
stuff.
the advertisements
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
so you're like,
yeah.
oh,
I remember all that.
check
Yeah.
And you go to the
Yeah.
gas station buy mini thins before the football game. You're on the sidelines. Oh, go ahead. We would just be all jacked out of our mind,
What
like
was that one energy drink?
being able to breathe.
There's that one fucking energy
So
drink.
much more fun back then,
Spiked.
man.
You ever
Spike.
spiked?
Yeah.
Energy drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to
Yeah.
get through a 12-hour mid-watch
Those
in the
fuckers
Navy
were
with
caught for
those.
putting amphetamine salts in their stuff.
Well, yeah, that's why it worked. We drank half, and then 6 hours later, drink the other half, and we worked mid-watches in the Navy. That's how we got through. Because we just
Mm.
babysitting cryptos. So it's fucking boring, right? You're just
Jeez.
sitting there watching a safe, watching YouTube, well, whatever we could get through the server.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, we went through those like crazy. You could buy those at Vitamin Shop.
What was the other ephedrine pill?
No
Twin
dose.
Labs. Twin Labs Ripped
Oh
Fuel.
yeah.
or
Rip
something?
Fuel,
Yeah.
Rip Fuel.
Rip
Rip
Fuel
Fuel
was
was
so
popular.
That was-
good.
that
Rip
was
Fuel
the
was
one I had.
popular.
I love that.
I remember being like
Twin Labs was good.
13 or something when I started taking those. And like I wouldn't understand at all because I didn't drink any caffeine at the time, like
Oh,
at all, like compared to now, right? Like
yeah.
I didn't drink any caffeine. I just remember like being like super shaky and like just like kind of like extra wired and just be constantly like working out in my room. And then there was like this bike path behind my house that ran a couple miles, and I would just like go walk this path or go ride my bike outside and just had like endless energy, like just extremely like nervous energy though, like
That's not
constantly
good.
shaking and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Rip Fuel was
Well, I
good
mean, you're
stuff by
taking
Twin
speed
Labs.
almost,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and see, or even that, the responsibility of the store owner. They shouldn't be selling that to minors. That
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
went to
was fun
Kmart and picked it
stuff.
up. Like
That was like good stuff,
Yeah,
man.
that was fun
Lucky, I mean,
stuff.
when all that stuff came out, I was already like 20, 21. So it was like, but I mean, I started taking some gear when I was like, how old was I?
It was
I
yesterday.
don't know, like 16 or something, 15, 16, 16 probably when I started like taking some pills, just we didn't have that. In the 80s, there wasn't any pro hormones, right? So it was real steroids. That was it. That's
yeah.
what you were going to
Probably
take.
safer.
Probably,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't, the funny
There's
thing is,
pharmacy stuff too.
it was pharmacy because there wasn't really a lot of fakes yet, back then. And I think the Mexican stuff, they started coming out with some fakes, but I don't know. I mean, even then, I feel like a lot of the Mexican stuff was actually still real. It was just
Veterinary
the
grade.
quality. Yeah, the quality wasn't all great, but it was always real.
That's from Mexico.
For like the most part, it was always real. It was just the quality wasn't always there, and that's the Mexican stuff, right? But if you get the American grade or the European, I mean,
The Russian
Speaking of
stuff has always been my favorite.
pharmaceuticals
oh yeah,
and UGL and all of that other stuff, I don't know if you guys seen lately. I think it was posted within these past like 2 or 3 days that the FDA or like whoever they came out with this letter and they're gonna start cracking down on like UGL anabolic labs and stuff.
the undergrounds.
Yeah,
Wait, who said
You
this?
better not.
it was on one of the. I'll find it later and
Who's
I'll
cracking down on it? FDA. Oh,
FDA or
yeah, and they want to bust
DEA.
these people, and punish them with hard fines. But
with the
all of
labs,
the
really?
street drugs, like the
Yeah.
Anything that makes
what?
us better, they want to get rid of.
Yeah, that's
right?
so
Yeah, you notice
stupid,
that?
dude.
It's always been that way.
But
Yeah.
allow
It's
the
always been
cartels to
that
bring
way.
But
in all
let
the
the
fucking
opium,
other drugs.
cocaine,
Like,
and the
Right.
all of that
Which
stuff.
is like the
Fentanyl.
big
Yeah,
money, right? That's the big
that stuff
money,
on the
right?
street. But
Yeah.
all the steroids, oh
you
no.
know, like
Yeah.
if you can see fentanyl, like if
Yeah.
you were to touch it,
It's too
if you see
much
it, that's like the lethal
overdose.
dose.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like, and I actually have a cousin that passed away from it.
I guess people who use it, they can obviously take a lot more. It takes a lot more for them to actually kill them if they've been using it often. Their body builds up
Makes
immunity
sense,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's people who don't ever use it, like that little speck, boom, yeah, you can die. Yeah.
But
It's
why they
just
make using steroids so taboo?
It really came from, I think it was from, well, Olympics was one thing, right? That's kind of where it became a big deal when like the whole Ben Johnson thing.
Yeah.
That's when it started. And then they were pushing the little league things. They were pushing
Oh wow,
baseball.
Little
It
League
was,
too.
yeah, baseball.
Mm.
These centers, they were pushing this whole agenda with baseball and then little league, and these kids are taking it. And then that's where they were pushing it. So it was like bad, right? Because kids are taking it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they were able to really like demonize it, because
Oh
look
yeah.
at these
And
kids
then
taking it.
demonize it some more with the Olympics, like, oh,
Oh
they're
yeah.
cheating,
Oh
they're
no, cheating.
cheating.
Yet, if anybody knows anything about the Olympics, it's probably like 90% of those people are doing something.
yeah.
They're
So it's like,
doping.
okay, like cheating. I mean, I'm sure some guys, there's people in there that are clean, but it's funny now. They go years later, you're finding out about all these people, and you're like, that dude was on some shit and he ran against the guy who got banned. He should, like, what's up, but he didn't do well, so they don't care. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
What do you,
Like,
what do you think about the enhanced Olympics coming up?
Oh, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think it should just be like, just do what you want and just
Fuck
go
yeah.
into it.
Well, there's a bunch
And
of
then it's
like,
open.
May the best
billionaires
man
that are
win.
funding this enhanced
yeah.
Olympics,
Yeah.
and they have to be supervised by a doctor.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think what we're going to find out is this is going to be a gateway to start learning how to use it safely for performance
Mm.
Yeah.
enhancing, because these doctors are going to monitor. They're going to know what's too much, what's too little side effects. Now the whole process is being monitored.
Mhm.
And for people like us, we get to see like some circus freak shit, which is
Yeah.
going to be
Heck yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like now these guys that did the, imagine if like Michael Phelps is like, fuck, I'm going to do the enhanced Olympics, come out of retirement. He takes a bunch of shit.
Oh,
Now what
yeah.
kind of records would be just blown out of the water?
Like he's
Now,
really
do you
taking like
think-
Motzi
do you
and
think he-
PPO.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
he wasn't on anything?
He had long ass arms and a big jaw. I mean, I hate to say he wasn't, but I can't
I don't
make any
know.
accusations.
Yeah, I don't know if he was or
I
not.
don't
mean-
know.
but-
I still think like whether guys and girls are taking stuff or not, it's like it's still like this huge physical feat.
Or
of,
even
you know?
busting them for weed. Like it's nothing enhancing about weed. And they're like
Yeah, I
popping
know.
them like
Yeah.
let
know,
them do
weed.
the fucking
Of
I know
course,
weed
that's
is
why he ate
definitely not
10,000 calories
good
a
for
day.
sport performance. It's not a
I'd be
thing.
surprised if some
Yeah.
guys I see that smoke a lot of weed and they're in good shape.
yeah.
Well,
But
those
you know,
guys were the
for as far
guys
as
that were
Olympics, you know,
always in good shape, right?
yeah.
But like I don't know. I don't I've never really considered it cheating. Like I don't think it's cheating in the sense of sports, really, to be honest, because it's like you said, it's like there's a pretty much a guarantee that like a majority of the people there are
At
doing
that level,
something,
right?
yeah. And then
Yeah,
you
I
think of
mean,
something like Lance Armstrong, right? Gets in trouble for blood doping and having like
Mm.
the was the barometric chamber thing or whatever.
yeah,
And it's like, so what? Like he just wants to be like the absolute fucking
right.
best. And he was. And
Mhm.
then you just
Yeah,
strip
and then
that all away.
that's crazy that they took all that
It's like you
stuff.
act like it never fucking happened when in reality he
Well,
busted his ass to
they
still
found
do it.
out after all these other teams were doing it.
Of course.
Except when you're not a winner, nobody gives a shit.
Yep.
If you come in 10th place, they don't care how much shit you're taking. They're like, yeah, you're not that good, dude. They don't care. But when you win, then there's a problem. Then they want to know what you're on,
And they
what you're
make it
doing.
out like, okay, let's say me, how I'm built right now, does a barometric chamber or blood doping, all of a sudden I can beat Lance Armstrong? Fuck no.
No, exactly.
No.
That's
It still takes a
ridiculous.
special person
Yeah.
to do that stuff. And it's still going to be that whatever, that 0.001% of people that are doing those things. Because we could all take all this stuff and try and compete and just get our asses annihilated.
Yeah, but see, I think with like
you know?
the people who come in to regulate it all, and come in here and bust everybody are like they're looking at that 0.001% of people and seeing how much
No,
other
and
people are
I
watching
think they're
them.
looking at
you
dollar
know?
signs.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
seeing how many people are watching them, watching that 0.001%, and then that's when they're like, okay, that person has way too much influence. Like we gotta crack down on this
No,
and make it a
back to the
problem.
dollar sign thing, being strong, healthy, and a alpha or sigma. They don't want that. They want people to be feeble and weak so they can get,
Well,
and then you're sick, ill, so you have to use the whole pharma things. So.
did you ever see that? And it's been on the internet a lot, that video in that high school back in the early 60s, I think it was. And all the kids, there was this one high school and they had a program and they were all doing there's like this obstacle course and they do these pull-ups. Have you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
seen that video yet?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was in the 60s, I think early
That
60s
was their
or 50s.
PE class.
And I was speaking, and everybody, and they had levels. There was like 3 different levels. You're either wearing like the black shorts, the gold shorts, or something, and a white shorts. And it was levels of how good you were. But everybody was in shape. All the boys, they were all
even
lean.
the women
There was
too.
no fat. There was no
Yeah.
fat kids in that school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, because they were making, they were exercising, they were doing, and they were lifting weights. They were doing all the body weight stuff. None of them was actually lifting weights.
Well, and we talked about before, stuff that's in our food in
Well,
comparison.
and that's
as
right.
well,
The
too, so-
food, packaged food, and
That'll get fixed soon.
yeah, I mean, you say
Well, like
if you,
we all grew up with like mandatory physical education,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? We all had it. Now kids are like they've backed it off so hard that like these kids have like 30 minutes twice a week. And they don't have like a real recess. They have like a time to like go hang out in the cafeteria with their friends.
Mm.
Like they don't get that chance to go outside and actually like play and do something.
Mm.
Or like we were saying, like it's like mandatory PE. Like they've taken that away from the public education system.
Dude, we had mandatory gun training when I was in school.
That's cool.
You're from the
Like,
south.
I know
Yeah,
you're
so-
we yeah,
Like,
we didn't
PE
do that.
class- No,
We didn't do that
listen,
over here.
Hear me out, because this is legit one of the smartest things I've seen for a southern place where everybody hunts. They take, I think, 1 or 2 weeks out of your PE class in 9th or 10th grade, I think. They take you through hunter safety. They teach you all the stuff, all the gun laws, all that. And then the last day you go out with an over-under shotgun, shoot some skeet. They let you shoot all day.
That's cool.
And then they fingerprint you, photograph you, get all your info. And then you're like
register.
16, 17, right?
Yeah.
So while you're in school, you can't buy a gun till you're 18. So I turn 18, I go to Walmart, I'm going to buy me a rifle and get my hunter's license. I'm going to go hunting. I am already in the system. Everything's there. I give the money, get my rifle, my license. I'm out the door. No process, no sign up, no going through class because I did it all in school.
That's cool.
It is absolutely a great
Yes,
idea.
I would wish they would bring that back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially to blue states.
Mhm.
I was in the system. I didn't
yeah.
have to do shit. I just had to give my money and get my license. I was out of it.
That's cool. Even like driver's education or like automotive class, all that kind of stuff gets pulled away. And now it's like
Well, they
there's
have driver's ed.
not
But
always.
I didn't
Yeah.
have driver's ed.
No, now you have to pay for
You have
driver's
to,
ed, and now
yeah.
there's like an
Really?
It's not a
actual
class at school.
curriculum.
Yeah.
You have to, like, as a underage driver, you have to drive an X amount of hours of daytime driving,
Mm.
nighttime hours, also like class time
I
on the
never
Yeah, the
computer
school
and
used to fund
everything.
that when I was in.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's all private.
Yeah.
We never
Now it's
had
all
it.
totally separate.
Really?
Yeah. It's all totally
We
separate.
did it with my
And
high school football
it's
coach.
wild because like I see it like I'll meet like 25 to like 30-year-old people who don't even have a license, have no desire to have a license, never did driver's education of any sort. And it's just like mind blowing to me because like I was able to get my permit at 14 and then I was able to have my license by 14 and a half. And
Mm.
it's like I was excited. Like as soon as like I was getting close to like my 14th birthday, I'm like, yes, I can get my permit. I can start driving. Like it's so exciting. And like they just kind of took that away from people now. It's weird.
That's so weird.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, we never had driver's. Well, we had it. I think it was yeah, you definitely had to pay for it. It was like private instruction, but when I was in high school, there was no driver's ed school
Yeah,
like
mine,
programs for it. You just had to learn from somebody in your
ours was like
family.
a required
You got a permit.
elective you had to
Yeah.
take.
You got your permit and you drive with, somebody who's licensed and then eventually you just go
For
take your
like a year
tests.
when you're fluent. In North Carolina, you get it at 15. If you pass the exam, you don't have to do driver's ed. I failed the shit out of it.
Uh,
And then you're 15, you get your permit. Then I was the first generation where when you turn 16, you can only drive from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. for 6
oh,
months.
really?
Oh, I never heard.
I was the first generation.
Oh,
So I
how
got pulled
funny.
over at like 10:01. The dude gave me a fucking ticket.
Wow.
Asshole. I
Wow.
got out of it though. But and then after that it's full on driving.
Mm,
For how long till you're 18? So you said 16?
But
You're
you're 16,
restricted?
you get the permit, you get the time curfew for 6 months.
Oh, 6
So 16 and a half, you get a full driver's license.
That's cool.
mm,
Yeah, I was kind of fortunate and like I lived in like the counties got rearranged and split, and so like where I lived was like right on the border of like this other county that was considered like more country. So kids were allowed to get their license or get their permit when they were 14, so they could start like working like tractors and stuff.
Yeah.
So by
That's
14 and a
legit.
half, I had my license, but I wasn't a country
Dude,
kid.
driving tractors are fun as shit.
Yeah, they are.
mhm. That's cool. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's go back to kids. I know. Well, I mean, this is, this kind of all goes together,
Does
right?
go
Because it
together.
ties into our
Tangents, yeah.
childhood and what we were doing when we were younger, and
That's
it
what
all
this
does
show
kind of go together. But
is.
Yeah.
Bump tangents.
I guess maybe we'll go around and really get everyone's thought on, okay, a couple things. One, do you think kids under the age of 18 should be okay to take steroids, some type of anabolics? And then tell me your thoughts on that. Then two, what age do you think kids should really be lifting? I mean, really heavy weights, like hardcore lifting. What age do you guys think it should be good and safe for them? Your guys' personal thoughts on it.
Are we writing this down?
So let's
I'm gonna
go.
forget.
So lifting, 14 years old with proper form.
Hmm.
Anabolics, I really want to say 25 and up.
Mm,
I know
yeah.
some kids do it younger,
Mm,
but I think you should try to get as far as you can at 20 to 25 and then think about at that point, I would say if you're not going to compete or do something, you should be very light and mild. You don't
mm,
need to be taking ridiculous stacks if you're not going to get on stage or try to compete in something. I don't think.
yeah.
I'm the last person to say that, but that's my opinion.
Well, yeah. No. Well, I mean, you learn, right? Obviously, like I could say I did steroids when I was 12, and then now I'm going, don't touch them until you're like 30. You know what I mean? Because that's you learned,
Well, you
right?
learned,
So
I
yeah.
was over 25.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Jody.
would say for lifting, if we're talking about like just the heavy weights, yeah, I think at like 14 to 15, I think is a proper time where like you've grown quite a bit, kind of past a lot of like your main like growth spurts.
10 years old.
10 years old. Yeah. For most, right? Like a whole
Jody's
lot
the
of us,
exception.
like a whole lot of us aren't a whole lot taller than we were in high school, at this point, right?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Right. So it's like I feel like that's a pretty accurate number for you to start actually lifting weights. It's good for bone density. You gotta build muscle, tendon
Mhm.
integrity, injury prevention. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Um, And then as far as anabolics go, I would definitely have to agree with Jed. I think later is better because I feel like I learned my lesson, even whether it was, like I didn't know or not, like
Mhm.
wasn't educated well enough. Um, Probably would have still taken stuff if I had known what it was to begin with,
Yeah.
honestly. So just being kind of young, dumb, and naive, I don't think it's intelligent because you might run into an instance where some guy gives you some bro science and says take double that and you do it and you freak the fuck out. Like, and
Mhm.
mistakes suck.
That's true. Yeah.
As far as myself, how I feel, people, kids, people are gonna people, kids are gonna do whatever they want. I think we're in a different time and generation now. There's information at your fingertips. Go do your research. Go be responsible about it. I'm not advocating for adolescents, teenagers, or young adults to do steroids. Um, I highly suggest you educate yourself thoroughly and know the pros and cons of getting into whatever you're gonna get into. As far as lifting heavy, in my honest opinion, I think from a very young age, they should actually acclimate themselves to doing a lot of body weight calisthenics and all of that stuff, getting everything strong, and it does create like a base for all the rest of your movement patterning and everything like that to get into like better technique as you age into the whole bodybuilding thing. Um, Yes, technology is at your fingertips. There's lots of YouTube videos out there or whatever online coaches you can associate yourself with.
There's a
Um,
lot of bad advice out
there's
there
a lot
too.
of bad advice out there too, yes. So, get a coach or like don't
Learn
go
to
learn as much as you
filter
can.
through it.
So
Mhm.
I go to Planet Fitness Kahala a lot to do cardio, and I see a lot of these school kids from Iolani, from Kalani, Kamiki High School, and they're just trying to. I'm sure when we were in high school, we were kind of like that, like an asshole lifting and just fucking do it. You're like,
Yeah, of
oh,
course.
okay,
Yeah.
you have no
They allow
idea
that
about.
Planet Fitness?
Yeah, there is.
I thought
This
they
it's
get
kind of
kicked out.
cute, and these kids like all like fucking flexing after like, yeah,
Ugh.
they do this sit and they flex, and I'm like, oh, that's adorable.
It's funny. Oh, look at that. Look at the little
Oh, they're
muscle.
Even
so
though I
cute.
competed, every time I see someone posing in the mirror, I'm just like, ugh.
Well, they're high school kids. They're like
Yeah,
skinny as hell, like walking
Yeah.
around like they
Yeah,
got big
right.
ass lats. I'm like, oh, that's so cute.
ILS.
I love that. It's
But
funny.
I as far as me, I unless they're going to injure themselves or I see something that they're doing like absolutely unsafe, yeah, I will intervene when that, happens. But other than that, I'm like, their bodies are young and resilient. They'll figure it out. They're not gonna listen to some auntie. They don't know me from dick, right? They're like, fuck is this old auntie trying to tell me how to lift?
Hmm.
So,
Right.
Well, I remember, yeah. I mean, for me, like in high school, working out at the gym, and some guy, some older gentleman's like, hey, like, be careful, you don't want to go that heavy, you don't want to end up like me. And you're like, no, dude,
Yeah.
I'm strong. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna end up
Like when
like
we're
you.
young, we know it all.
I think
So
yeah, I think all of us have heard that old guy say, "Hey, you just gotta be careful. You don't want to be like this. I got a bad shoulder about." I think everyone's heard it,
Yeah,
for as
yeah,
far
coming
as
up.
people using gear, whether it be guys or girls, I you're gonna do it regardless of what anybody has to say anyway. Do it responsibly, do blood work, research it. Um, I would rather them create that great foundation and base first until you reached your natural capacity, like max capacity naturally,
Mm.
then maybe, or in the event that your hormones are just jacked and you do need to get on like HRT or TRT or something,
yeah.
then by all means do so, but do it wisely as well. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not advocating for any young teenagers or young adults to do it. I would rather them wait until they're topped off naturally.
Yeah.
No, that
May
makes
I
sense.
touch on that really quick? One of my like little pet peeves is when you ask somebody how much they're taking and they just go like, "Oh, 1 cc," or "I take 2 of those pills," and you're like, "Well, how much are the pills dosed at?" "I don't know. I take 2." Or like, how much
That's
is
how
how
some
much how
people
much is
are.
in 1 cc?
300 megs.
Yeah, but like they don't know their actual
That's
dosages.
how a
So
lot of some people are, man.
yeah, I hear
Yeah.
it a lot, and I just like it's very irking because like it's
One
dangerous.
cc of 750.
Yeah, like
Oh,
like what? Just like you need to know
can
how
you
much you're
pack that
taking.
much
So
into one
if
CC?
you only know like the quantity of what you're taking and not like the actual dosage, whether it's
Right.
milligrams, micrograms, nanograms, whatever. Like you need to know exactly how
Mm,
much you're taking.
Yeah.
Don't just like take 2 pills because some dude said so, or do 3 cc's because some guy on the YouTube said so.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 cc's could be 1,000 milligrams, could be 900 milligrams, it could be 300 milligrams. Like you don't
mhm.
know. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
measure
that's
your
true.
shit.
That's
So,
right. That's
and as
right.
far as yourself, go ahead.
Um, I don't know. I think kids should definitely get into like, yeah, body weights, doing a lot of push-ups, just pull-ups, things like that. If they're into sports and playing their
Mm-hmm.
sport, I think that's huge. Focusing on that early on. The weights, depending on what your goals are, I guess. I mean, I think like these guys are saying, right around probably 14, because that's typically high school, right? Get into high school, you probably can start lifting. I don't know, like really heavy, some movements. I think like 16 is good to me. I feel like that's a good age. Maybe you have you're more aware of your body movement too. A
Yeah.
lot of kids, you see a lot of kids at 14 watching them run, and you're like, why is this kid
Yeah.
running all
Like
weird?
bobbleheads
Like they don't even
couldn't
know how
have
to, they
control of their
still haven't
body.
controlled all their motor skills. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. So I think maybe at 16, you got a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
control of your muscles and your
That's why
understanding.
I'm saying calisthenics when you're young is
Yeah, for
fantastic.
sure. Like it's
Yeah.
very important. Um, around there, I think that's probably good. And then as far as anabolics, my thoughts on it, I really don't like it. I mean, as far as like kids taking anabolics, especially teenagers, like I don't like the idea of it. But I also know that the reality is that a lot of people they are going to use it. And I'm kind of like I said, hey man, if it's a difference of you getting that scholarship to that big school, hey man, you know what? You got to do whatever you got to do to get there. You know, like that's just kind of how it is in life, right? I mean, people, it's that saying, you ain't winning if you ain't cheating. You ain't cheating if you ain't winning. Whatever that saying is,
You
it's
ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
yeah, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, whatever. Like that's like a thing, right? And the reality is, I look at it like this: you're probably not the only one that's actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think cheating's when you're the only one. You're probably not the only one. So, but again, I don't like the idea of it. I definitely think there's going to be things that person's going to have to deal with when they get a little bit
Yeah.
older, once they decide to get off. And there's going to be some issues. So I'm not a huge fan of it. But I also know the reality is that people are like, they're going to do it no matter what you tell them. Hey, don't do it. This. Okay. And then, they still do it.
Yeah.
So
It's just
at
like that old
least,
guy in the
yeah,
gym.
the old guy, you're right. Well, but I like you guys are saying, at least if you educate yourself, you understand it and you know what you're doing when you're doing it, you try to be as safe as possible, and okay, fine. Like, me, I started really young, and if you were to ask me like, Mark, would you do that again, at 18, I would say, hell yeah, I would do it again.
And
But
more.
the difference is I would want to have more knowledge. Like
Oh, more knowledge.
if I had somebody
Mm-hmm.
helping me to understand it better,
Yeah.
because I had to learn for myself. So there was a lot of things that I was missing. I had a decent base because I did read a lot, but there was a lot of things that I was missing that I definitely could have had help with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But for what I was doing and the time in my life, I was like, sure, I wanted to do it, and I did. And I was around other kids that were doing it and doing a lot more than me. And so I was like, yeah, I was interested. I was really into the bodybuilding scene at an early age. And so, yeah, to me, it made sense. And I didn't take it. Like, that's the thing too. People think I took it all these years. Like, I really didn't. I did it for like a little bit when I was like teenager, and then I stopped. And then I wasn't on it for like years. I mean, I'd say, I don't know, probably like a good 4 years or so. Like I was off, and I wasn't on it, and I was just training. And then I was able to get back on it later. So I wasn't, and then even when I went on it later as an adult, I was like not on it all year round. I was huge on like, oh, I'm gonna do a cycle. I'll do this 12-week cycle, and then I get off for at least 12 weeks, maybe 16 weeks sometimes. And that's how I cycled. So as in my 20s, that's what I was doing. I never took anything all year round. I always took cycles. I mean, sometimes at one point I think I was off of it for like almost a year, that was in my 20s. Like I had done it for a while and I stopped for like a year. So I had done a lot of different things and I was always big on like, yeah, like you need to give your body a break, You need to cycle off, give your body a break, do the cycles and that actually worked for me really, really good because I mean, I had my son when I was like 29, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I was competing all those years and hey,
Yeah,
guess what?
still
I
popped out a
still
baby.
got my wife got pregnant, so yeah, I mean, and it wasn't that hard for us because again, I was doing the cycles
Hmm.
all those years, taking break cycles. Yeah, and it worked fine. So
There's
yeah.
as a coach, there's something people don't realize when you come across somebody who's is old enough and on a situation where they should take anything, and they come to you about it, and you try to convince them, and it's like, okay, if I keep telling this person not to do it, they're going to do it, and they're going to hurt themselves. So, do I keep saying no and they do it, or do I show them how to do it safely?
Mhm.
And you're kind of fucked either way, because if they do it in spite of what you tell them and hurt themselves, and it falls on you. But if you get caught coaching them how to do it properly, and it falls on you. So it's like, which one do you
Mhm.
pick?
Right.
You know, that's
Lesser of
something.
two evils.
Yeah, it's just some people got to think about in our position because sometimes we get faced with that position. We got to figure out what's the best route to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never bring it up
Hmm.
with any of my clients unless they bring it up. And I never push it. I never say, we gotta take this and we gotta take this. If they ask me, then I give my advice. But I don't
Mhm.
ever say like, all right, so when we get 12 weeks out, we gotta take this, this, this,
Oh
this, and this.
no.
And I don't do that unless you brought it up first.
Well, I
Right.
in the beginning I just flat out asked, we're gonna do this natural or not? I mean, because I'd rather you do it natural, to be honest with
Yep,
you.
I mean,
especially the
I
first one.
do
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
it. I do ask it in my like initial like new client questionnaire though. Like I bring it up like, do you have any experience with anabolics? Do you take any including like insulin, growth hormone, that kind of stuff? Also like other medications that we could have
Yeah.
like adverse
Yeah. So
side
even with
effects and
that,
stuff
the
too.
client stuff, I mean, I'm hoping that they do their own research, um, and they tell the coaches, "Hey, I'm gonna do this thing, and be an open book with you." It's kind of hard to hide if you are using gear.
Yeah,
Well, I've
yeah.
I've had some funny ones where with the client and I don't talk about it really, just kind of like how you are. I don't mention it, and this they start talking about it, and then they were doing like the show, they're getting ready for a show or something, and I'll be like, oh, so are you on anything? Like, just asking, right? Because I gotta know, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh yeah, so I'm taking this." I was like, "Oh damn, dude! Like, okay, like
Yeah, why are you taking
taking a
50
lot of
megs of D-ball 12 weeks
gear,
out? What's
bro.
wrong
Like,
with you?
like loading up on. I like surprised how much gear some people are on, and I didn't even. I mean, I figured they were taking something, but I had no idea like
Yeah.
what. And then I was like, "Oh man, you're stacking, dude."
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting when you find out what people are doing. You're just like, okay, well, cool. All right, man. Well, do you need any help with that? Like, what do you need?
More
You
isn't
know?
always better either,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Good point.
I feel like you kind of just gotta find that special dose, like just enough to like spark growth or fat loss and stay there. If you take a whole bunch of
I
extra, you're
mean, you
not
could
gonna
go
get
either
a whole
which
lot of
way
added benefits,
of
right?
each of you can either do the I mean, I'm not advocating for this, maximum effective dose
mm.
or the minimum effective dose. I mean,
I'm on the
Hey,
minimum side.
let me tell you something, guys. Let me tell you something. Okay, I come from the '90s, right? The way we did it, man. If you ain't filling that 3cc all the way up, baby, you ain't doing it right. That baby better be filled up every time. You better load
in one
that
shoulder,
3cc
all
up every
three,
time, no
one
matter what.
glute.
You filling that baby up. Come on now.
My very
And I'm making a joke about it, but that was the thing.
that
Some
sounds
guys
like it would
really
be.
said that. They're like, "Oh no, you better have that thing filled up every time."
My very first cycle was only 200 milligrams of testing anthe every 10 days.
That's probably good,
That was all I
actually.
did.
I mean,
That's like
TRT dose.
TRT dose.
yeah.
I didn't know, but I need
Oh
to
no,
I need to make
but
that
it
$200
actually
bottle last me as long as
but that
possible.
would actually help you as far as maintaining muscle tissue while you're dieting.
Yeah,
See, that's
yeah,
the good thing about that cycle. You may not get bigger, but it'll help you maintain your
Yep.
muscle
yeah.
mass.
Especially
That's
because
what
I
that's
think I
for.
think naturally too, right? Like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all the added stress of like dieting and all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff could potentially drop my test
Yep,
levels,
Right,
absolutely.
right?
exactly.
So if I have like this supplemented 200
Mhm.
mgs going through my body, like
Yeah, that would keep you
I'm
right
good.
at a level, yeah.
And results
You
are not linear to how much you take.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's not the more you take, the more you get. There is a cutoff point to where it goes up and it starts doing this,
Yeah.
and then the side effects are going to outweigh the results. I don't think people
Mm.
realize that.
And it depends on what you're taking too.
Yeah.
There's different ones, right? So, like we said, what's our model?
don't do trend, kids.
That's the trend kids.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I suggest to wrap things up, get yourself a coach. We will always default back to that. Get yourself a good coach. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of information out there, good and bad. You have good and bad coaches, but go find yourself a good bodybuilding or fitness community, especially you young high school kids.
hmm Especially high school kids. Yeah. I mean, it makes me wonder how many kids are actually, when they do take it, where are they getting it from? And do they really understand what's going on? Are they getting it from, I mean, what, from the internet? Are they ordering it? Like, I don't know.
These
That
kids are smart,
that's
man. They
kind
know
of,
how
I
to
mean,
get
that's
this
the other thing
shit.
too, right? Like, what's your source? And I mean, yeah, like
Desperate acts,
you could
desperate
get
measures,
in
dude.
trouble for it,
They
or I
you could
mean,
get
you
into
could have
trouble.
issues. You could get infections. Like, there's all kinds of things that go along with that, especially with all these underground labs and stuff. So
That's why I was
that's,
saying earlier, you got to really weigh out the pros and the cons.
mhm,
And there's a lot of people in that younger age. They're just like fuck it. They're just gonna blast. Their body is resilient. They're just gonna push through. And then you don't feel the after effects of all the downsides of it till
mhm.
later in your years. You know.
Yep,
So
yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the best advice I got when it came to taking stuff was from a like prior coach of my own. And he said that steroids don't do the work for you; they just allow you to suffer more.
hmm
Mm,
So
you
don't
see
think
that?
just because you take a bunch of stuff you're gonna grow or you're gonna be better. Like you could take a bunch of shit and sit on the couch and nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, I had a buddy actually. Speaking of that, one of my friends, I was on gear, and again, I didn't take that much, and he was like, "Wow, Mark looks pretty good." And granted, I've been training for a while, and then he wanted to get on some stuff, and he was in his like 20s already, and I said, "Oh, you ready to get on it? Oh, okay, cool, right on, man." And then he was getting on some stuff, and it was so funny because he did fill out a little bit. You can tell, like, okay, you got a little bit fuller, but never really got a whole lot, right? And he would complain to me, and I was like, bro, I was like, dude, how much food are you eating a day? Did you lift? How many times did you lift this week? What are you doing? Like, I would have to talk to him, and he's missing all these
yeah,
pieces, and it was always like, dude, like, do you see what I do? Like, you see how much sacrifice I make. You want to look better, like that's what you have to do, man. I'm telling you, like, and then I think in his head he thought, well, once I get on, I'm just gonna get bigger. And he didn't realize, like, oh, hello, like all the sacrifice that I made just to get where I was at all the time, and all the food and everything. And I was like, man, you can't miss any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just
I
about the
mean,
gear,
that's
obviously.
what people think. Gear, cheating, easier, faster
Yeah.
route. But food is the most anabolic tool you can have.
Oh
So
yeah. What? It's just I've literally had guys say, "Oh, this stuff is fake." It's like it's not fake. Like you're just not
You're
doing shit.
fake.
You're just not doing shit, bro. Like I'm like, you don't lift heavy enough. You don't eat enough calories. You probably don't sleep enough. I mean, let's
or their
just go down the
lifting is
list.
like shit too.
Oh yeah, well, they're not stimulating, right?
Yeah.
They're going just so light. They don't know how to push. I mean, but you can always tell they'll always gain a little bit. Like they'll always gain a few pounds, right? That 5 to 10,
Yeah, that's
kind of a
the
little,
newbie
a little bit of
gains.
fuller.
Newbie
Like, oh,
gains.
shoulders maybe a little fullness in their chest. You'll see it. You go, hey, you got something.
Yeah.
But then that's it. Like it doesn't go beyond that.
Years and years
So
and years later.
yeah, and good luck growing legs. I mean, these guys never have legs because yeah, that's a whole nother demon of pain and suffering to get big legs, right? So
Well,
uh
definitely for all those kids, right? You gotta educate yourself, find really, good advice, someone that can coach you,
yeah,
and make sure that you're working. Like
yeah.
you can't go past that.
And besides talking about working, kids, for those of you guys getting on steroids, I'm pretty sure you guys can attest to this. It gets expensive. So for one, I mean, if you're living under your parents' roof, make sure if your parents find your stuff, your syringes, your oils, that you have an answer for it. Um Also, too, it gets.
Wait, are you
That's a
advocating
whole other
lying?
I'm not.
Lying to your
I'm not
parents? No.
advocating lying. I'm just saying if you're
Don't
gonna
do
be
it.
under your parents'
Yeah,
roof,
yeah,
have an
yeah,
answer
yeah,
for if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna be using it.
Right.
I mean, besides all the downsides of it, I mean,
That should be next week's topic.
it gets
So,
expensive. So make sure you could afford it. Afford a good job. I mean, get a good job so you can afford like that blood work that I'm keeping on like harping on here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
have your life in order before you decide to like you want to start doing all this shit.
Which
yeah,
means you shouldn't be living with your parents. If you're old enough to
Yeah.
take steroids, you shouldn't be living with your fucking parents.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it, you should be like you said, prioritizing your shit.
Yeah, and the whole like the dark side of steroids, we didn't even get into that, and it's a psychological mind fuck in
Well, yeah,
itself
we didn't talk
too.
about that stuff. The
But
psychological
kids
side.
don't do
Yeah.
trend.
Like,
Don't do trend.
for sure. Don't do trend. Yes.
Have a great
Any
rest of your
Ugh.
week. Work hard.
any last thoughts,
Yes.
guys?
No, I think that's it.
No,
Nope.
I think that nowadays, though, I do want to say that I think kids need to move more. They need to exercise
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Do something physical. I mean, there's the video game era, right? Sitting at home all day. Video games are fun, but you've got to, manage your time and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But you should exercise.
Get
You
outside.
need to be exercising.
go out
That's
and
just
talk to
so
people in
important.
person.
Yeah.
So, and if you're sitting there getting fat, like, hey, sorry. I mean, it's not cool. Like, just sitting around getting fat. Like, you should be moving your body.
Hmm.
There's no excuse for a child or even a teenager, right, to
Be
be
obese.
fat. Yeah, there's no excuse. Really. So I just
And
don't see
we're
it.
not body shaming, but there's definitely
No, I'm not body
a
shaming at
social
all.
difference nowadays as
Yeah,
opposed to even 20
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that, yeah, I just think movement. It's movement, right?
Yes.
Just moving your body. So that's it. That's my big thing. And yeah.
That's
All
a
right.
wrap.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Paradise Pump, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.